Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 2. Before I jump into my review, please subscribe. It'll help me in so many ways. I'm trying to get that Rotten Tomatoes approval and hit 30K subscribers. So, jumping into this review, I am actually going to start with everything present day storylines and we'll go by character. And then, actually, with the past timeline, we'll just go straight through with that because it kind of follows a straight line. I also want to mention this episode was written by Jonathan Lynskey, who really is the unsung showrunner. I think everyone always talks about the married couple who runs the show, but we always forget about the third partner there in Jonathan Lynskey. So it's nice to see him writing this episode, and he deserves some praise here. And we got this director who's first time directing Yellowjackets in Ben Seminoff, who has directed episodes of Ozark before. So let's talk about everything going on first with the present day storyline with Shauna, and really a lot of Callie time here. Callie's gotten a lot more screen time this season. I see a lot of people aren't a big fan of her character, but she's definitely one of those characters in the show. You have to understand that she is this younger adult who is struggling with shady stuff her parents are doing. So I think anyone in her situation would be feeling the way she's feeling, especially with some paranoia too about going on with Adam and that her mom has possibly done something really, really bad. But she thinks her parents are selfish. She's telling Kyle. Not a good place in her head right now, Callie. And it is strange, though, how she breaks up with Kyle in this scene. After he offers chocolate chip pancakes from his mom, I just think it was very abrupt and strange. Just wanted a little more kind of explanation in that moment why she just did it that fast. But again, it's Callie, so who knows? But we see Callie is still holding on to that ID of Adam, so we're kind of trying to figure out what her end game is here with that. And you see Shauna's trying to spend time with her, and she's not really getting any feedback. The key for Shauna's character to really grow in this timeline and change for the better is to really try to get through to Callie. Because if she actually gets through to Callie and works on that, that could prevent chaos with Callie possibly leading on to something bad with Adam, and maybe just trying to be honest for once, Shauna. But you see Kevin shows up, the cop here, to Shauna and is asking about Adam Martin. Callie sees that Shauna's lying to the cop and being shady, but the bad news for Shauna is that the cop has seen texts between her and Adam, so it's going to make her a suspect. And Callie actually gets her out of the situation by saying they have to go, but you see Shauna actually slips up to Adam here and uses Misty's advice the wrong way and says, "More questions, do I need a lawyer?" It's just not the place to say that. It makes her even look more suspicious. But you see, Callie's like, "Why are you lying to the police?" to Shauna, and Shauna's like, "I did to protect your dad. Last thing he needs is everyone knowing I cheated on him." This is still Shauna, though, lying to Callie. And Callie's like, "How thoughtful." And there's this moment where she says, "Callie," like you think she's going to actually open up to her and talk through this with her. And Callie's hoping that. You see it in Callie's face. But Shauna just goes, "At least go through the back. He might still be out there." It's just not growth on Shauna's part and just a bad parenting on Shauna here. I know it's not popular to say, but I actually feel for Callie a lot here in this moment. And as the mom, Shauna's got to be the bigger person here, and she's just not. So where things really slip up is that Callie is at this bar flirting with what she doesn't know is an undercover cop in this character of Matt, who introduces himself to Callie as Jay. Now, this is something I don't like with casting. I'm not crazy about this casting where they cast the actor of John Reynolds, who also plays a cop in a show that's currently running in Stranger Things and is still on the show as a cop. So I'm not a fan when people cast same type of role while it's still currently airing. It's kind of taking me a little out of it because I'm used to him already playing this type of character on Stranger Things. But he will bring this information to Kevin that the mom is cheating on the dad. But what's interesting in this is that Matt thinks Kevin might be conflicted here in this episode, and he definitely is because he is Shauna's friend, and that can kind of make his investigation muddy. And actually, that will help out Shauna in the end. So out of everything going on in the show, the Callie and Shauna present-day storyline is my least favorite at the moment. It's the only one I'm just like, okay, I'm not like fully engaged on it. And I felt that way last season too with Shauna and Adam. I always feel like anything that has to do with Shauna and Adam and that adjacent isn't the best, because if you look at the end of the day, if this was taken on its own show, is just not the best enticing storyline compared to everything else that goes on in this show. So that kind of just continues here for me. I still enjoyed it, but I hope they kind of get going now on Shauna's character growth for her present day character. Now, we only get a little bit of present day Misty here, but we see that this character, we still don't know the name of Elijah Wood, who's from the forum, shows up to her job bringing his mom and smirking at Misty. So Misty is being out Misty'd right now. And he leaves Misty a note in the fridge that is in black light ink and says that a security camera she had saw at the motel is actually a dummy. But he did ID a man who's been living in the motel for 3 months, thinks he's being interrogated by the FBI tomorrow, care to join. So he invites her to do that. But you can't really trust this Elijah Wood character either, because if he's like Misty, he has ulterior motives. And of course, he's annoyed that Misty is putting down his investigation. So he's probably suspicious of Misty now into the murder of Adam. So we'll see how that kind of goes about. But that's an exciting story to me, and to see Christina Ricci and Elijah Wood together on screen, and to see who can outplay who here with Misty and this character. And if Misty, her weak spot is falling for people, and if he can kind of read on that, that might be something that hurts her with this guy, but we'll see. Now, where there's some really like meaty stuff going on here, and I hate saying meaty in this type of show, but it's here, is with present day Nat and Lottie. It's interesting, Nat says to Lottie, last time I heard you were finger painting in the loony bin, so there is this interesting, fascinating places they can go with Lottie's just character arc and where she's been, because we see in the 1998 timeline she gets that shock therapy, but we don't see what happens in between that time to her being this cult leader. So now we know she was in an institution and institutionalized, so they can definitely kind of go more into that at some point. We see that Lottie corrects Nat in this episode. That's not purple, it's heliotrope, which is after the flowers, the heliotrope, which also mean to move with the sun, and that they actually use that dye from those flowers. It makes sense for this type of group. And you also see at this Camp Lottie, which is Camp Green Pine, you actually visually see in the wide shot all those pine trees, just like we're out in the wilderness. You see, though, that Lottie is saying to Nat, I sent my people to keep an eye on you, and thank God we did come because you were about to kill yourself, but she sent her people after what happened to Travis. But you cannot trust Lottie ever. And you got to see it as this just as her covering herself, and that she was really sending those people to actually kidnap Nat and take care of Nat because she was a threat to her operation. I also want to mention, this is a very stretch of a theory by me, but I'm going with it for now, that we see that septum piercing girl gives Lottie a drink that is not what she wanted. It has maca root in it, which is for the libido. I wonder if the tea that she's giving Travis in the wilderness, in the past timeline, has maca root in it and is helping his libido, because Travis suffers from ED with Nat. So it is a great thought for me, because what I love about this show is everything that's kind of supernatural that's happening could be excused also to not be supernatural. It toys with you constantly, this show, of can this all just be explained through regular things like, oh, did Lottie really cure the ED of Travis here, or was she actually putting maca root in his tea, and that she's curing him actually through a physical mean and not supernatural? It's interesting. I just thought that was interesting they threw that line in there about the libido. So where stuff gets crazy is when Lottie explains to Nat what happened with Travis the night he died and her involvement. And this goes into, is this an unreliable narrator with Lottie and what we're seeing in those flashbacks? I do think with everything she says, a lot of it actually is true, but there is parts she's leaving out to Nat, like Nat says. But what I also think is important, as I don't think Lottie is as evil as we're led on to, because I feel like what this episode's really doing is showing us everybody in the show and reminding us is messed up in some way and has done messed up things. And that really, that's painted on Nat in the past timeline, which we're going to get into. And I think that's important that was shown this episode, and that we're not supposed to also think Nat is completely clean either. But at the end of the day, I don't trust Lottie at all. Like, I don't think Travis said that Nat would only make things worse, like Lottie's saying. I do think Lottie tried to help him, and then she got triggered, like we see in that scene of remembering her traumas when she touched Travis. He's so paranoid about the wilderness coming back to haunt him, and he's bringing up the only way to confront it, the darkness, is to get close to death as possible. That's why he actually went to hang himself, which I think is definitely true. It's also interesting, that note that Travis wrote that Nat was right, Lottie saw that note. I think that has to be about Lottie, that Natalie was right, that Lottie is a fraud. But you see that when Travis was trying to get to where he was unconscious, that's where the button broke on Lottie. Now, is that the truth on Lottie? I actually do think it's true that thing broke. But what she's not explaining to Nat, and we see, is that when Travis was there and the button broke, she had every opportunity to try to bring him down. And she got distracted, turned around, and saw Laura Lee. So that's the part she's leaving out to Nat, because she says it's a horrendous accident, but it's not really. And let me just say, out of all the horror that's been in the show, the real true horror came to me in this Laura Lee moment. That actually really got me and shocked me when her face turned like that. It scared the crap out of me. But see Laura Lee saying, what she said to her when she baptized Lottie, put your faith in him, your guiding light, as Travis in the background is going higher up. Very great horror here. And you see with Lottie, there's all these candles that she had in her vision when she was baptized by Laura, always around her, and things connected to Lottie, and that's here in this big moment. So it's interesting she still thinks of Laura Lee and is deeply connected to Laura Lee, and how that kind of started a lot of her supernatural beliefs, even more that baptism. And it's interesting to see where Lottie's full beliefs are now in present day. And losing Laura Lee was traumatic for Lottie, and she still thinks about it. But you see, Nat has this great line to Lottie: every time you try to save someone, a lot of bad shit happens. So that also alludes to more stuff we're probably going to see in the past time we haven't seen yet with Lottie. It's going to be interesting too, because Nat says she's going to stop Lottie in her cult. But we see when Nat goes to her bed, those heliotrope clothes are on her bed. And it's interesting, she lays down on the bed and then has a vision of, like, from her perspective, of EMTs putting masks on her. But to me, it seemed like it was connected to the bed, the way she looked at the pillow and then having that vision because she was wide awake, and that happened to somebody laying in that bed. That's my prediction. But I'm wondering with Nat's story, is she still going to get manipulated by Lottie? Because she is a broken person right now, what happened with Travis and everything, and that Lottie's using her manipulative ways, and that she's like, oh, I was trying to help you with everything with Travis. So we'll see. We'll see what if Nat can stay her ground here, or is she so broken she'll just take the easy route and finally convert to the cult of Lottie, which she, I don't think, ever does in the wilderness. Maybe she'll start thinking Travis was right. Who knows? Now let's go with present day Ty here. So we see she's an absolute mess right now. She's not sleeping. She's drinking coffee just to stay awake like crazy. And it plays this song, which is really important, Inertia Creeps by Massive Attack. Now, I just want to give a quote from a band member of Massive Attack of what that song's about. He says it's about being in a situation but knowing you should be out of it, but you are too effing lazy or weak to leave, and you're dishonest to yourself and dishonest to the other person. You're betraying them every day, and the whole scene feels like it's closing in on you. The idea is a combination of movements propelling yourself forward and pulling yourself back at the same time. This exactly describes Ty's situation currently, so it really is the perfect song for this moment. And Ty is literally inertia defined right now. And how do you even center her during all this? I also would have liked to see what pills she took in front of that mirror. We didn't get really a glimpse at that. But I love how they revealed the twist in Ty's story here with Sammy, that she's actually, in all of this sleep deprivation, envisioning Sammy there, and he didn't actually come there. It's bad. And poor Steve, the dog, and all this. I hope he stays okay. Everyone's already saying protect Steve at all costs. But the big thing is that this leads to the car accident with her and Simone. So we'll see where that goes. It's a good cliffhanger. However, I do think maybe the show's used the car accident card a little too much. So we had that with Shauna and the bumper. We had that almost happen with Lottie as a child. Now it happens here with Ty, and also even happened with Jessica Roberts, who I still want to know. People had mentioned that it was shown in the Citizens Detective page that the police are stumped on what happened with that, but I'd like Ty and Misty to have some kind of conversation about Jessica Roberts, what's going on with that. Now let's go just to the past, which is such a strong storyline, always has been, and now it's really kicking up. I love how it opens with a very haunting voiceover of Jackie on the credits here saying Shauna. What's important is that Shauna says to Ghost Jackie, Nat and Travis will find something, and Jackie says, you don't believe that. One thing lying to yourself, but it's different lying to your baby. So it really explains Shauna's mindset in wanting to eat Jackie, and that she deep down knows, like, they're screwed. There's no food coming in, and she's got to protect this baby and feed it. And I thought it was really interesting is that they showed her imagining cutting Jackie's wrist to eat more of her, and it was revealed later on to her and Lottie when they look at her body, Jackie, that she did do that. She did cut her wrist. And it's interesting in Shauna's mindset in these scenes, she's still in clear denial about even eating Jackie's ear, saying she buried it to Jackie. And what I love about this with Jackie, it could just be Shauna's talking to herself through Jackie, envisioning her. It could actually really be a ghost Jackie that's haunting them like the real Jackie, but ghost form. Or it could be an evil spirit haunting them and messing with all them in this wilderness that Lottie's connecting to. And that could be connected to the man they saw in the cabin. So it could also be connected to the eyeless man. We'll see. But again, I love about the show is it can go a lot of ways here. There's no clear answer on that. Now, I actually love in this very dark and twisted past storyline, we got a very funny moment here with someone shitting in the pee bucket. And I love the line Misty says, does it look like a girl poo or a boy one? And Travis then says, that is definitely not a thing. That was great. And I love Ty saying the line, oh my God, you are all a literal shit show. Great writing there. I also think it's interesting you see performances being tuned up a bit and really trying to match their counterparts as adult and vice versa. And I thought that really stands out here with Sophie Thatcher, who's really tapping into Juliette Lewis this season even more, especially in lines where she's saying, if it's yellow, leave it mellow. Brown, do it outside. She's doing the same escalation Juliette Lewis does. So I think it's very impressive. I want your theories on who pooped in the bucket. You might think it's Ty because Ty goes on her sleepwalks. I don't think it's too easy though. It could have been Shauna because it smelled so bad. So it could have been ear poop. I can't believe we've been saying that. Or maybe it's Javi, right? Maybe Javi came and did a little visit and there's a reason he's not actually saying hi to anybody. Who knows? I don't want the poo theories. Now, also fascinating is Shauna when she's putting makeup on Jackie and Jackie saying, you only had sex with Jeff so you can imagine being me. And you just wonder again, is this Shauna talking to herself? Is it not? Is it a Jackie ghost tormenting her? What's the truth here? But it makes you think about all that, where she says, you're hungry, and Shauna's like, well, Mari's making dinner. And she's like, that's not what you're hungry for. Obviously talking about Jackie herself. And again, talking about again where Shauna was thinking about eating her and slicing her wrist, which we see she actually did do. Now, jump for a second to Ty here. Again, with this show and this episode really does well is showing how messed up everybody is. And it's hard to judge anybody, right? Because they're all just in a bad situation doing really screwed up stuff. And that now goes from Shauna to Ty. And Van will even say that to Ty, right? Like not to judge too much because she's one to talk. But Ty gets away from Van overnight. And we see Ty is following this eyeless man through the woods that almost leads her to go off a cliff. So Van saved her life here. And remember with the eyeless man, Ty saw this near her grandma's bedside when she was a child. So it's fascinating, Ty's story and how she saw this man even before they got to the wilderness. And that Sammy has some visions here of the eyeless man because of his drawings, what this all connects to. And it also leads to seeing that symbol on the tree that was right near the cliff she was jumped off to. So that symbol's got to be connected to the eyeless man for sure. And I think most fans feel this way. It's all just hyping me for a reunion of Van and Ty in present day. It's got to happen. And I'm so curious what Van's current mindset is in present day and about Lottie. I'm sure she's going to reveal things about Lottie we didn't know. And I do not think, again, that Van is Team Lottie anymore in present day because she would be with her. But you see, of course, in the past timeline, Van suggested Ty to talk to Lottie. She's like, well, she helped Travis. And again, this is a big divide that Van's believing in Lottie and Ty's not about it. But it was interesting that they do show visually Ty's thinking about it because she is looking at Lottie from afar. So I wonder. And we see Nat's getting more worried watching Lottie so much here with Travis and having an effect on Travis, giving him false hope. So what does Natalie do? The most awful thing we've seen her character do, and now really in a character that was the least gray in the show and, mostly good. This is gonna gray her up because this was bad. Like, she lied to Travis about finding Javi's pants, put the blood on herself from her cut, and convinced him that Javi is dead. So this explains all the guilt Natalie feels in the present day. I'm sure she never told Travis this, but that's just messed up. And I love it. I love they're making even more complicated characters now. Now, I like the story is moving, and I like that it's moving at a better pace than season 1, in my opinion. I think there's so much more meat to the bone. I keep saying meat with the show. I should stop doing that. But there is. It's just more in depth. I don't remember with my reviews last season having to go into so much in depth with the show. So to me, it's showing the quality of the writing is even stepped up even more. There's so much just to unpack and going on in a good way. It's more engaging. And that happens here, especially with Ty finding Jackie's makeup on her face, going into the cabin right away, and then seeing her hair was braided. And she even says, right, like she's posing her like a doll. And the difference here with Lottie and how they handle this is like Ty's very tough love and I believe doing the right thing here and being straight up with Shauna. At this point now, it's been 2 months, you're playing with a dead body, right? It's really messed up. But Lottie's more easy on Shauna about it, right? So you see that side too, because she's comforting, she understands the hurt. But my favorite performance this episode, I haven't given enough praise to, is the actress of young Ty, Jasmine Savoy Brown. I thought she was so good, especially when she says, Shauna, this has to stop for you and for the good of the baby. Really good stuff and good writing here too. And of course, young Shauna is excellent per usual, just with her visual reactions this episode and thinking as her character. But you see that Ty has the idea, let's get rid of Jackie's body and we'll cremate this as really tough for Shauna, but she gets through to Shauna to do it. Also interesting, we see Lottie puts Jackie's necklace on Shauna, so keep an eye on that Jackie necklace, because Pit Girl was wearing it when she dies in that really early scene we saw in season 1. So that necklace is going to move around and be important. And Shauna has this great scene where when she's burning Jackie's body, I will never have a friend like you. I don't even know where I end and you begin. Love that writing. And you see, though, what's important is Travis puts Javi's pants in the fire and says goodbye, Javi. So this is showing us Travis is moving on. He's accepting what is Nat is saying is truth, that Javi is dead. And because Travis is feeling now more himself, he goes for it with Nat. But he thinks of Lottie during this. Lottie cures erectile dysfunction. But is it Lottie, or is she putting something in his drink, like that root I was talking about? Fascinating stuff. Also, Nat's really lucky. They showed it real quick that Travis did not see the big cut on her leg. She's really got to hide that. And then, again, the mystery of the show, right? Is it a supernatural entity that knocks the snow off this tree and lands on Jackie? Or was it just wind? But either way, it makes a perfect full course meal for our Yellowjackets. And if you know my reviews, you're always going to get at least a 0.1 up if you have Radiohead. It's my favorite band, and I love they did Climbing Up the Walls here. And you see Shauna says she wants us to. Talking about Jackie. I love how they filmed this. I thought it was really effective. They had them at this like wonderful feast cutting between them in this fantasy portion, because that's how they're feeling. It's showing you how they're feeling. And also because it's showing you Shauna grabbing that forbidden fruit on that table, which is Jackie. She's the one who makes the first move, and everyone looks at each other's thinking about it, and they follow her lead. And they house it. Like, they go all in with the horror here in the eating. I think everyone's been waiting for this with the hints of cannibalism in the show. And yes, Shauna ate the ear, but this was like the big moment here, and it didn't disappoint. I love the just sound design with it and the eating, and they really feast here. And it again cuts well with the fantasy because it shows you how they're seeing it and they're feeling, and then they're not seeing it as this really messed up thing because they're hungry. But you know who is Coach Ben. He's the audience in this moment, how we feel. And I love how he shuts the door, and then the music stops and the credit rolls, and we just hear the sound of the wilderness and feeling like we are really in the wild now. Like, they are feral animals out there. So really awesome end for me. I absolutely loved it. And what makes me like not worried about like, oh, did they already do the thing we've been waiting for too early where they're eating somebody? I'm not worried about it, because what's more important is, wait, when do they start to decide to eat somebody against their will? I mean, Jackie was dead, so that's that, right? We want to know, when is it going to be getting crazy where they still have that moment where like they decide someone alive they're going to kill to eat. That's what we have still in store, and they can hold off on. So that makes this really make me think this works well and is timed really well and doesn't wait too long, because you don't want it also being a show where it's like, okay, are they ever going to eat people? Are we going to get on with this? Like, no, I thought this was perfect. It might be my favorite of the show to date. I think it is. I'm going to actually put it past the premiere of season 1 as my favorite. I'm giving it a 9.7. Again, not a 10, because I still think it's a little bogged down by the Shauna present day storyline. But besides that, really enjoyed this. You've heard what I said. I have so much good praise about this, and I'm excited to see where this goes next. So please let me know your theories down below, what you thought of this episode. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Please subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of Yellowjackets. I'm also doing Succession at the moment. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.